Link in the description. Sport drink, 10% off. Heaven's Harvest Pepper Food, 10% off. Kofi, PayPal, Cash App, Locals, Patreon. All way to throw me a couple bucks a month so I'm not beholden to YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, who pay the majority of my revenue. I would much rather it be diversified between y'all. If you can only do a dollar a month, trust me, that is more than enough. That makes a difference. It's not nothing. And if you can't do any of that and you've only got a couple dollars to share, I would ask that you go to ARC. It's in the description. ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. They've been rescuing children since 1993. A bunch of former special forces guys don't take salaries. They just put on body armor and just go physically rescue kids. They're not selling wristbands and saying be on the lookout. They are kicking down doors and physically rescuing sex trafficked kids. They've done about one a month, 12 months a year since 1993 with a 100% success rate. They do not take salaries. Your donations are tax deductible. So that link is in the description. They have a PayPal. You can get it done in 5 seconds. Thank you guys. I love you. Adam Web 3.0. They are now my biggest sponsor. Excuse me. Their Telegram is in the description. Their owner is going to come on and explain what it is because I am cryptocurrency challenged, and but they are a sponsor of the show and they like the show. So please go check out that Telegram. Thank you so much, guys. And we are recording on Tuesday, July 14th, 2026 at 12:03 p.m. Eastern Time with Colonel Murray, Colonel Watkins, and Supreme Ally Dark Pope, Grey Pope, direct ambassador to the reptilians from the Sirius star system that are the Draco star system that are here to control us and eat our flesh. And my favorite conspiracy ever about the mRNA shots giving people long, fibrous, rubbery clots was because we were making people full of those because the demons at the end of time that come down and eat us like chewy humans.
It's for the archons. That's it.
Yeah, they wanted us to have some chew to it. So I don't really know where I was going with that introduction, but I mean, I guess we'll start with Lindsey Graham being any foul play. Is this just old dude?
No, just a little myocardial issue.
Aortic
Thumps in the
aortic
chest.
explosion. What do you think, Blaine? General?
Um,
All wild speculation. I get it, but all the
it's
disclaimers.
Yeah, all wild speculation. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah. Entertainment program.
But even mainstream newsrooms are like, wait a minute.
How old was he?
So he was 71. The whole point is just like when the FBI made their statement at the Charlie Kirk thing, or just like when they told us what happened at Butler, or even as far back as the Las Vegas stuff with the mass shooting there. They don't make it make sense. They don't care about the logistics. They don't care that they have a plausible story. They absolutely don't give a rat's ass that mathematically the timing of his trip to Kiev and getting back in time for some mysterious person to dial 911 in his home just doesn't work out. And so the only thing we probably can know is that there's bullshit, that cleaners went to his house, and that it was of such a sensitive nature that cleaners needed to get to their house, so we didn't have some international thing. There's a bazillion possibilities.
I didn't hear any of that. I just heard he died.
Yeah, he didn't just die. So
when you say cleaners, do you mean Mr. Wolf?
No.
Do you mean like John Wick cleaners?
I mean like Cash
Fiction
Patel's cleaning service.
Yeah.
Mr. Wolf. I love that movie. But look, it stinks, and nobody cares that it stinks, and it's of such a sensitive nature involving one or more countries. I think it involves three, but it doesn't matter. It's all fish wrap, and they could care less what you think about it, because it's if you want to FOIA the information later on, you'll get a black piece of paper. That's it. It's over.
It is very old pattern. You killed the old ones before they get a conscience and when their usefulness is done. And you do it as a warning to the rest.
Yeah.
And you pick somebody who's very well placed. This is the second person who's been very close in Trump's circle. The first one was Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
That's not mean that he was Trump's friend, but if you look at all the events and public events, et cetera, Lindsey Graham
Use
was
of
there.
jets, all that shit.
Why? Because Lindsey Graham, once McCain was dead, Lindsey Graham is probably the next guy who knows everything.
What's interesting?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
What's interesting to me is that this this is the exact blowback from the last 75 years of our government lying to us about everything. No one trusts the government or their stories.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
the more layers that they add to the lie makes people even more suspect, because to General Holt's point, the first story is that this phone call got made. It wasn't made by Lindsey Graham. Well, if you're in the middle of a heart attack, you make a phone call to 911. No, he made a phone call to a staffer who happened to be with, and then we find out a little bit more to the story. That staffer called 911. I don't know, but I think it's much easier to call 911 than calling a staffer. That to me says everything about our government. But no one believed that story. So then Turbeville comes out and adds another layer to the story. His staffer was with that staffer to verify that staffer got that phone. So you just see the layers upon layers upon layers. And that's how, in the past, and I'm not saying that they're related, but that's how the CIA spins their stories. When they float the initial lie out there, then they add to that lie, then they add to that lie and that lie until it's buried with so many lies that people just throw their hands up in the air and go, fuck it, I don't really care because I know you're lying to me. And that
Yes.
then people move on, and no one ever goes back and looks at all of the different lies, where they came from and all of that other stuff to at some point somebody does, and they write a book about it, and that's the only way we end up questioning past events. And I just find it very interesting to watch this unfold.
Deny everything, make counterclaims, obfuscate everything under mass amounts of useless information,
Correct.
and move on.
Well, you forgot that
Might or might not
Candace
teach that in the schoolhouse.
Candace Owens steps in and does the deep dive and brings some guy that was at MacDill Air Force Base in the middle of the night having a sandwich who saw Erica Kirk. Yeah. She's
Well,
the
what
one
kind
who
of
does the
sandwich?
Deep dive after the
What kind of sandwich?
It was a
It's important.
thing.
American Eatery or
Matzo balls. Matzo balls on unleavened bread.
It's an age-old Russian tactic to just
I see what you did there.
flood the entire environment with garbage.
Russian
Yeah.
tactic?
Oh yeah, it's very well. It's CIA too, but
Okay.
This is
we learned
ancient.
a lot
This
of
is
it.
ancient.
The Russians did it first.
No, they didn't. The Romans did this thousands of years ago. This
Oh
is what.
God, you always
this
got
is
to
what-
take it back to the Roman Empire.
Well, because this is
some
what liars
obscure
do.
British king
They
back
all
in the
do it,
first
Steve. The
They all
Russians
do it.
did not do it first.
Oh
Yes.
God, I want to blame the Russians for something because I was going somewhere with it. God.
Steve's
Right,
trying
so
to
I'll
get a
just get
hot.
to the point I was
Steve's trying to
gonna
get
make.
a hot Slav
All over
agent to work for.
Telegram, the Russians are posting. In fact, the guys that supposedly launched the drones are posting a victory lap all over Telegram. And
Why
it's-
wouldn't they?
Yeah, I'm not. They got a freebie on that one.
So
Yeah, there's no way the Russians killed Lindsey
No,
Graham
you
at
don't
all.
play that-
But,
this type
but
of
there is
game,
great
you don't do
interest
that.
in
But
the
that's where
Ukrainians
that's
having
where
the
that
world
started.
believes that the Russians
So
killed Lindsey Graham.
Ukraine pops them, make it look like the Russians, and say, "Hey, look, America, you can't get out. They're killing your citizens."
Unless it's a joint operation between Ukraine and another country. What
Yes,
what
or
kind of
us.
food were you talking about there, Ian?
The U.S. Well,
They had sideburns.
At this point, because very much exactly because of what Roxana said, at this point, they don't need to make it look like anything. It just needs to
No.
happen. And then
That's right.
there's so much, and then you just put 2 or 3 threads out there and in the window, and now there's so much distrust. You don't have to pin it on anybody, which, by the by, is what makes assassination so easy now.
correct.
Right? It makes it, and that's also right towards the end. We had this conversation the other day, right? Assassination's coming, and Roxanne, you posted something about a bomb in New Jersey or something here.
It just happened, a car bomb.
New Jersey,
Oh, I missed that one.
right? Copland, isn't that what was that the movie with Sylvester Stallone when he was in the mob. He was a cop in the mob community there in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was Copland, right? No, we're at the point right now where nobody's going to believe nothing, right? The only person has any say at this point is St. Peter, quite frankly, whether that bastard gets in or not. Probably not. Interesting, and somebody's going to have to correct me here because I don't pay attention to prostitutes or their wives or husbands.
And
so-
you're saying we do?
Well, wasn't his wife out of country for some reason and is back now? Or is that Mitch McConnell?
That's Mitch Connell.
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She needed some Chinese food. She went for some dim sum.
She needed actual cat.
I was going to say dog, but it's the same, same mechanics there.
You're just
this is what happens, right? And quite genuinely, right? So I've been saying this since the very beginning of the war. Two things, and we've all articulated, but I've been writing this and thinking through this. One, the war is always going to metastasize, not as a war, but as this gladio, stay behind, all the wetware fuckery, right? Of course. And that was always going to be led by the Azovs because they're the only ones that they have left, and they're highly financed now and backed and funded and embedded everywhere, et cetera. The war did that all over. The second piece is that we look at all these European leaders who have gone off the rails, malevolent evil, and the Yuval Hararis and everybody else, and we don't take a moment to think that maybe they too are operating under the duress. Maybe they too are functioning. Maybe Dugin has gone off the rails here in the last 2 years since his daughter was assassinated. Right? So we need to really take a step back and think about, does Macron really want to do all this shit? Did Stammer really want to do all that shit? Or do they have the constant, ever-present threat of assassinations around they and their families and the peoples of the countries, right? It is nothing for the Azovs to unleash a wave of terrorism wearing the mask of ISIS or Al-Qaeda, because they've been working hand in hand with them in the Ukraine.
Yeah. In this season that we're in right now, there are two flavors of assassination. One flavor is you're not important enough to send a message on, and you just simply disappear, and you're gone, and nobody could ever find you, or you died of natural causes, and no doctor would say otherwise.
Natural causes like being shot in the back of the head twice.
No. I mean totally forensic free. Like
I know.
Billy had a cold and he's gone.
Like the heart attack gun.
Yeah. Or the pigs are well fed.
And then the other flavor is the messaging kind, which is we could kill you and make you disappear. But we're going to live off of your cadaver for quite some time. So we're going to make a big mess out of this. Charlie Kirk, Butler, and now Lindsey Graham. And we're going to live off of this messaging. And we're going to send a message to a bunch of other people that this is going to be your fate if you mess with us.
Somebody sent me a message this morning and said that Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Said that
put your hand on your heart when you say that.
Said that the closeted gay community in South Carolina lost a great leader.
Yeah, probably. But so how do you associate Lindsey Graham with Charlie Kirk? Like that was a message. Lindsey Graham. From what I know,
Those Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham's a message to his peers.
I think it's the same damn countries involved, quite frankly.
No. It is exactly the same country. Lindsey Graham.
There's only so many enemies to pick from, guys.
but how was his as out front?
Russia? It's Russia.
Because
you're allowed to, Steve.
Lindsey Graham is a message to his peer group, not just in the United States, but in the EU, the UK.
I get that, but the form of death. What exactly was the form of death? He just had a heart attack.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. They could have stabbed. He could have been stabbed through the fourth and fifth rib for all we know.
Yeah.
There's this other product in Kiev.
We don't know that.
There's a product in Kiev called Limbs Come Off. It's all hyphenated, but it says limbs come off right on the side of the drone, and that's your, at least that's what a source is telling me. It was limbs come off in the drone factory with the pipe. Could have
given him a little bit too pure cocaine for all we know, and he actually had a heart attack. I say that a little tongue in cheek, but the honest truth is,
would it be hard? Yeah.
The honest truth is the nature of the insult, using the medical term, is irrelevant. The fact that he's dead now and under these circumstances, and to exactly what the colonel's saying, the full bird type, it's the layer.
boy.
It's the layer
Yeah, he's
cake.
got to go there. I know how that goes.
Secretly, Steve is a brigadier general himself.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
In the
actually
resistance.
in the resistance. Yeah, he probably outranks everybody. Give me a second. The way they're doing the layer cake of lies, right? That's the real important thing. Meaning he died. Even if he died of natural causes, they still went to the obfuscation. And that itself is the message.
Yeah.
So
What's interesting to me, though, also is they seem to be clamming up and don't want to talk about and refuse to talk about a simple thing. How did he go or fly, and in what jet did he fly from Europe back to the United States? Just
what's the
lay it
tail
out.
number?
Was it a military transport? Should have been, but if it wasn't, if he was on an official trip, should have been 89th Airlift Wing asset out of Andrews.
Well,
And they won't even. The Air Force won't even talk about it. Air Force like can't talk about it. It's like why?
There's a certain group in the aviation folks that does these types of trips regularly. He probably was on one of those birds.
I used to be one of them.
He was the 89 out of Andrews.
Or Air
Well,
Branch.
this is a different one, unmarked. No tail numbers.
Yeah, CIA Air Branch.
Yeah. I have the
Air
coin
Force
right
has-
here
Air
on my.
Force
I
has
have the
their
coin.
own.
I have the
Yeah.
coin right here on my rack. It says it's a C-17. It's beautiful, and it says
these-
NYOFB.
There you go. Starts with an N. Yeah.
That's
Starts
right.
with an N.
18 series.
Yeah.
The tell though,
Yeah.
from all of it
So
is the fact that they appointed his sister as his replacement.
Oh, that was smart. I thought that was extremely smart.
Well, and can we just lay the amount of wealth that he accumulated off the playing table here? Everybody's saying, "Oh my gosh,
I know.
he lived so modestly." And what I laugh at that, because the amount somebody of his stature, and even if he was crooked, you'd never find his wealth.
no.
$2 billion in mattress money.
It is
Mattresses
so
are in Switzerland.
ridiculous to even
Yeah.
bring that talking point up, but
And they're
it's
doing it
one
on
of the-
purpose.
Right.
They're getting in front of themselves.
Okay,
Correct.
so what was Operation Maxwell Epstein really? It was all of this. That's exactly what Epstein did. That's what he's recruited for. It's what he did at Bear Stearns or whoever it was, Barclays or
is
whoever,
hide their money.
is hide their money. Right? We talk
It's
about,
just such a
so-and-so's worth
ridiculous
200 million. Like Pelosi's worth 200 million. Pelosi's probably worth $2-3 billion. It's just, you don't know where that money is and you'll never
Correct.
see it. These people don't play for the hundreds of millions, folks. They pay for billions because that's the numbers today.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you think about all the war chests that they've created just through laundering money through hedge funds just in the last 10 years. And
Got to go away.
that's in the T range, not in the B range.
Yes.
That is
It's been laundered
stealable
through
money.
So many different countries that they've probably got cutouts for cutouts off the cutouts
Oh, yeah.
to their cutouts that we'd never even know about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I love about the 48-hour rule? It's always so entertaining. There's so much bullshit that comes out. Like you watch all of the alternative channels and people just go down rabbit holes you never even thought of. And it's amazing. I mean, one of them that was sent to me this morning was he was going to totally nuke the National Defense Authorization Act and he was going to get back through.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's a
like,
fun one. That's a fun one. Yeah, but they're all generated from the same place. It's the same
are.
slop. They have a slop factory and they spin it out in all directions.
It's open AI run out of Microsoft. That's the script
absolutely
writer.
it is.
It's like literally, right? Freaking Pachai or whatever his name is.
And look, I like my bullshit freshly packaged and well delivered. I want it served up hot and fresh. And
yeah, most Army guys are that way. It's kind of an
I
Army
wanted to
thing.
hit harder than my
Oh,
coffee,
man.
bro.
You hear so much of it from battalion and brigade. You're like, just serve it up fresh. Let's go.
So let's, if I might, one of the things that is important to add, so let's take all of the, obfuscation and everything else aside. What does it mean that Lindsey Graham is gone? And what does it mean that they put his sister in there? Right?
How do you put your sister. How's the replacement work? I thought you have to be
They could
The-
do an appointment, a
Governor
temporary
appoints it.
appointment until an
until the election.
is held,
Okay, right. Sorry, keep
right?
going. Yeah,
And we
yeah.
got to remember, he was a senator, right?
yes.
Senator.
Yeah,
So
he was up for re-election. He had
was up
won
for
the
re-election.
primary,
Yeah.
and the governor just appoints the replacement until the
Until
Till the
primary.
election.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And
Yeah.
this is the old way, right? People really should watch the old Jimmy Stewart movie, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. One, it's a great movie. It was made in the 30s or 40s when he was fairly young, and nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed in the Congress or Senate or the states. But what does it mean right now before the midterm elections that Lindsey Graham is out of the picture and his sister is placeholding? What does it mean for power? What does it mean? He sat on every major committee or had influence on or had sat on at one point. Every major committee had vast amounts of information about vast amounts of things.
Well, that's the thing. Is she cleared? Is she not cleared? Are they going to do the Jedi hand wave and say you're cleared now?
It'll be Jedi hand wave, and this may be an on-ramp for her to stay in the seat permanently. And if that's the case, then what you'll see is the Trump organization owns her forever.
Yes. I think this is the case, and that probably $2-3 billion that Graham has squirreled away around the world.
Coming back.
It's coming back. Well, it's coming back in the fold. It's not going to be used against.
Scott Bessent's going to take it back.
Well, I don't know that. The way this normally happens is you let them keep their stolen money, but if they ever use it against you, then it gets taken back, right?
Oh, I think there'll be a cut, but here's what I think. I think that this is just the beginning of the clawbacks, because now President Trump, just hear me out on this. The opportunity is that President Trump also gets to send a message back to the bad guys, is I have the ability to claw it all back, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you that I'm going to do it. Now, she may get a cut because she's going to stay on the reservation and do whatever the hell he says, but it's not going to be his ill-gotten gains. And I think that after Ukraine, they are significant.
I expect some retaliatory strikes that we'll never know about.
Yeah, I agree.
I would agree with that
it's too big a hit. Big a hit.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I expect, and it'll be both, Blaine, to your point, it'll be both financial and actual mortal. Lethal.
Genetic, yeah.
Right.
So against who though? Who do you imply that it's going to be against?
Whoever the handler. So I would suspect whoever the Azov, Praetorian freaking handler is.
But do you think? You think it's them that popped them?
No,
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
matter.
That's what I'm lost on. Why it doesn't?
It's EM said this 100 times. I actually agree with this, which is surprising. I want you to take this in.
Talk to me under the imagination that I'm retarded.
The curmudgeon is not going to curmudge. Hello, we've got breaking news.
Here's why I agree with this. Because
Steve, pretend I am retarded.
No. When you're escorting somebody, and this is it was the same thing in country, right? You get a VIP come in, you get a security detail. Their job is to make sure nothing happens to that person. They cover all the bases. They make sure there's no intel,
including heart attack. In fact, it's one of the things top on our list for people that age.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You go through, and if something happens to them and you're on watch, that's you. That's nobody else. That's you. And it's a big deal. Right. So I watched all this unfold. How many VIPs, Cheney, Rice, all the rest of them came into Al-Falal, came up to Moles, all same deal, right? Their security details were Nazis for a reason. You have to be, because you just can't, you cannot trust anything doesn't get to the enemy and the enemy doesn't have eyes, because they see everything. Even despite our best efforts, they still had intel on us that we were scratching our heads. How'd they get it?
Because they got guys in our own freaking details.
Correct.
Oh,
I was going back to what Roxanne has laid out very well, and people go look at her detailed work, but they all go to the same schools and have the same damn certifications.
Yes.
Yep.
The same pedigrees. But there will be retaliatory strikes, and we, the U.S., may not do them.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the best way to do it.
Concur. Yep, absolutely.
It'll be somebody who owes us a favor.
And it'll be because there's so many big things happening right now in the world. It'll be under the cover of something. So we'll see like the besieged headquarters get blowed up and some big dog in Cuba goes down and we blow up a damn drone factory. And all while that noise is going on.
Yeah.
Then, could be the dude in Jersey that just got blown up.
Yeah. Legit. Yeah. It's
they didn't kill that guy. He made it. Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah. So back to what you're saying, the importance of his sister stepping in and him being gone. What is the importance?
So I have family in South Carolina, Bennettsville area. Give me a second. South Carolina is a small state with small community, small elite community, and they don't let outsiders in very well. So the Grahams are, a genuine power family there, and it's keeping this in the family. This is, South Carolina maintaining its power disproportionately. It's an important thing. It also, again, there's a reason I suspect, here's my suspicion, particularly given this. My suspicion is that part of the reason that Trump had Lindsey Graham so close so often was that it was keeping Lindsey Graham inside of Trump's security detail, inside of his security bubble.
Yep.
Because there was a credible threat against Lindsey Graham and let's just say it, from the Azovs, from the Ukes. And, they're cutouts, and they're just the devil's legions for the Praetorians, right? But there is credible threat. And I suspect, Lindsey, it's not necessarily always that you keep your enemies close. Sometimes you keep the people that your enemies are trying to get at real close.
Yeah.
So you can protect them.
On an ancillary issue, I've lived in South Carolina for a combined 10 years. That's where all my C-17 stuff was. But McMaster was not supportive or helpful to Trump during the redistricting wars. And now he's got a hell of a problem watching essentially the possibility that the GOP of South Carolina is going to take a fatal hit here, and that's going to give the opposing party the chance to get a foothold. And so it's an ancillary issue. It's not a prime issue, but if the president senses blood in the water in South Carolina and a McMaster who wasn't playing ball before, that's certainly all fixed now.
So you're saying Trump off Lindsey Graham so he can get his?
No, he doesn't have time. He's just very busy. Just certainly does not have the bandwidth for that.
I just want to put another layer on the layer cake of lies.
Yeah, no, listen, today's peanut butter day. Let's get the peanut butter and jelly out. Spread that shit everywhere.
No, South Carolina is a small pool of genuine elite families. And power. They tend to keep power close to their chest, and putting it, having his sister elevated actually makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Yep.
So whether she stands for election or not, I don't know. Right.
Well, yeah, and he just took the oxygen out of the issue, meaning there's no Nikki who's going to come. There's no other rival, other bullshit. It's just
they're not going to send an outsider in like they've been doing in all of these other bloody states.
That's right. It's neutered. It's done. Fire blanket is on it. It's over.
And the $2-3 billion, as I noted, that has been squirreled away to the Graham family is staying to work for the current regime.
5 cents on the dollar.
That's how power played. And we also have to remember that, what was it, before the 14th or 19th or whatever, or you people wiser and smarter than I am have to correct me on this, but it was the states who used to appoint their senators. It wasn't elections.
Yeah.
We need to go back to that. 17, thank you. That was put in there, that was the amendment, the 17th Amendment was put in there specifically to overcome something the founding fathers specifically put in, which was to make sure that 2 senators were chosen by the state and outside influence couldn't have impact on that. And more importantly, it was the elites of the state who chose them.
Yep.
That gave the state, not the federal government, that is what helped maintain the federated republic.
Right.
Yeah, the state legislatures appointed the senator.
Yeah, and the governor can make interim appointments and replacements. Yeah. Until an election. That was done on purpose. That's the old English system, right?
Oh, it was the 1-2 punch, 16th and 17th Amendment. That was the coup that finally took over this
All
country.
by the baby and Wilson.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, if we were going to dig up and
And his
desecrate a
little
president, it
henchman
would be
colonel.
that guy. Yeah.
The fake
Oh, yeah.
Colonel House.
Yeah.
If you could be a time traveler and take a silver bullet back in and say I'm going to get one, that's the one. Go get that one.
House would have been.
Hold on. I gotta get the timestamp of that and clip it. Not clip it, remove it. Because I did an episode with the Baldwins the other day, and Dave Collum had some similar words for a certain world leader, and I put it up, and YouTube immediately said, like, this is not advertiser friendly. This is a strike. So I got to make a screenshot of that clip of specifically bullets. I think it's funny, but I'm staying monetized. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
House was one of the most evil people in the world.
Absolutely.
we've got all
absolutely.
kinds of them all over the world right now.
I know.
And don't
Yeah.
yes, he cast a shadow, but not too much of a shadow to not figure out that the first lady was also as evil as she could possibly be. They're just wretched people.
Yeah.
There's a great quote.
Traveling packs.
I think it's was it from Nixon? Where he goes, George Bush Sr., Poppy, he's cold. He's a CIA operator. He sticks to the work. He goes, Barbara Bush, she knows how to hate. I think it's such a great quote.
She?
Did
he use that pronoun?
I was in the old guard when the
I was going to
Bushes were
say it,
in.
General, if you weren't going to say it. That's a dude.
I was in the old guard when the Bushes were in, right? We did in and White Houses, in and outs, etc. Barbara Bush was a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
George Bush, as the president, was a pretty mellow and calm guy. Barbara Bush was a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You didn't cross her.
It's weird how that is a repeating pattern, because most people talk about FDR, but if you do any research into Eleanor, oh my God.
Yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
Another dude.
There's a reason why he died in Warm Springs, Georgia, with a woman that was not her. He died there in an affair, not the worst way.
I know. I think they renamed it Cold Springs after that.
Dude,
So one of the things that needs to happen in this restoration, like my book, This Restoration, is we do need to repeal, Roxanne, you said the 17th?
17th.
Yeah, we do need, so we need to redo the 14th, 16th, 17th, and 19th amendments.
Yep.
There's going to have to be a states convention, and we're going to have our convention of the states, and we're going to have to
Article 5.
use the states to to fix constitutional issues. Because, and I wonder, Blaine, if
I assume
because
you're
you brought
saying-
this up numerous times, you've been talking about the convention. The Republicans, the GOP and the Dems having their conventions rather than the normal fuckery. And were a convention of the states to occur, it might emerge from such a thing.
I completely agree. And the groundwork. So a lot of people make a big mistake in confusing a constitutional convention with a convention of states.
Yeah.
They're not the same thing at all.
Not the same thing. Yeah.
Article 5 is controlled. Article 5 has an agreed upon agenda and what you will vote on before you get there. And when the run at this happened over all those years, albeit with a crappy leader, got pretty close. I mean, getting 20 states legislatures to say, yes, we want this on an agreed to lens, but there's
5 or 6 that secretly said they would.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But now when you see the astonishing events that we're going through right now, I think, and I agree with EM wholeheartedly, I think that the stomach will be there to get something like that done, to get over the hump of 32 states. And the modeling and simulation that was done with real live delegates coming to Williamsburg and running this, it went very, very well and very orderly. And what they need to also do, I'll throw this on top of it, is we need to term limit the shit out of the Congress and their staffers.
I assume you're talking post kick the communists out of all of the border state, the
yeah, they got to be rounded up. Stephen, they got to be rounded up. And talking to the folks that I know on the team, I'm not as pleased as I was before. It's like they've got an alternate plan for the midterms to secure them and make sure they're good. It rhymes with gilitary, and then they're going to see big rest. We're not probably going to see trophy bucks fall until after the new year. And
I'm just saying, General, that if we're talking about post, we've cleaned up all the communists and got the Chinese and all of the other actors.
I agree.
States that are blue, and we can actually do a. Then we can get our house in order. But you're right.
So,
that is. I am in violent agreement with you. We have got to clean up the rot before we can get ourselves right.
That's what we do
too, right?
You know how we have the military do these pre-game shows?
Yeah,
we should just use the military to do Pinochet communist as pre-game show.
Oh yeah, I love this idea.
So give me a second.
Dictator, is that how that goes?
I think this is a great idea, and we didn't say the bad word in front of you know who, Tommy, the shadowy overlord of the program.
So little strategic fuckery, right? So they're talking about having conventions, right? Political conventions before the midterm. Okay, great. Did not something just come out about the voter fraud that got the 2 senators in? I think
Trump's gonna make an announcement Thursday night. Yeah.
So this is now, right? Okay. So to all of this, right? And Blaine, I've been kind of thinking through the prostitutes a little bit because you've been saying this about this Constitution, and then I have to think about prostitutes to figure out what the hell that's all about.
Sure.
So thank you for giving me a dirty mind.
Oh, I did it. That's funny, said the sweaty. That's not passing muster.
Okay. Well, only the good officers, right? One of the things,
Captain Holt.
one of the things that would influence, that going to a state's convention would be the information dump of a whole bunch, legitimate, no joke, chain of custody information, all of that on a whole number of the people at the conventions that are illegitimate because of the manner in which they were brought into office, which is something you've touched on. Okay.
Yes.
If you have a substantive amount of that, in particular, you could invalidate a good number of the rhinos and a whole lot of the Dems, that would almost necessitate a state's convention.
Yes. The test case is Georgia, and it starts 9:30 Eastern on Thursday night when the president makes that case. And what could happen is Ossoff and Warnock are no longer senators in Georgia.
Okay, so now we take a step back.
My God, that would be a good day.
Wouldn't it not?
Yeah, that would be that would be a good day that I would celebrate.
Then you got to remediate the fraud, Stephen, and that is a big job.
Even if we start today, General, it's going to take a decade to do that.
Yeah, well, it's going to take forever. Yeah,
it's got to be done anyway.
This goes all the way back to Tammany Hall over a century.
Not a small task. Logistically, that's huge. I mean, just look at how they've tainted the voter rolls just in most of the swing states. They're filled with
look at the little shit. Just what Ossoff and Warnock voted on.
Well, there's that.
I mean, it's just a kludge. But now look at what EM's saying. If you multiply, if that's the start, and you multiply that times, 40 states, now you got a hootenanny going on. And does that mean that the government is incapacitated?
And you do it not just at the federal level, but you demonstrate the fraud at the city council level. You do it at district attorneys and judges, and at every one of the down ballot levels as well. Yeah. So now
I'm putting bandoleros on right now. I'm ready for this.
Legitimately, okay. So now we take a step back and go, okay, what was Graham's death right now? Was it actually related to Ukraine and all this other kind of stuff and making it look like the Russians and all of that?
I think it has something to do with elections. I don't know what.
Right? So
I'm not ready to make that leap, but
I don't know. I don't know.
As just two big puzzle pieces. Motherfucker dies and Trump comes out 6 years later and goes, by the way, that thing in 2020, which we all watched, I think it was the morning of January 6th, before they did the hop up. I was bringing it. Those are just two very unique data points.
Steve,
remember,
days later.
The election, the 2020 election, was not about the presidency.
It's about the down ballot. No, I get that. Ballot. I'm talking specifically about the Georgia runoff the morning of January 6th because I was in Washington, D.C. watching it on TV. And it happened again.
My bad.
They're winning, and then at 4 a.m. it's just, I don't know, everybody decided they had civic duty, and 90 trillion votes from
Programmatic fuckery is
from
what it is.
Guatemala came in, and
Yeah.
it's
The USP shtick.
but he's bringing that up 6 years later.
Well, you
But
got to
then-
build evidentiary trail.
I get that, and the raid in Fulton County, and I get all that. But I'm just saying all of that in proximity to this guy dying, as Colonel Watkins would say, they're not unrelated.
And they're not just
how they
bringing it
are.
up now. They're not just bringing it up now, Tommy. This stuff has been war gamed.
I know, and
modeled.
and the shot clock and
agree.
everything. I know all that. Maybe it is just a coincidence, but it just seems
Kash Patel said
odd.
this to me almost 3-4 years ago now. He said that 2020 is not over, and then when Trump comes back to office, it's going to be resolved. I believe that piece, because the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was sitting in Georgia when they raided those offices means that the DNI was in charge of that collection effort, and the DNI knew where to look and knew who to look at, because they had all the intercepts, they had all the
evidentiary trail, right? So the only thing that fixes this is a states convention, or convention of the states, whatever the hell it's called.
Article 5.
And it is constitutional amendment from the states, not from Congress. It's because you have to go around Congress in this case because they're so corrupted.
Well, if it's incapacitated and none of them are actually legitimately elected, it provides the problem overall with that is it also calls into question all the state legislatures too.
Oh, no. Because as Steve said, 2020 was about the down ballot to lock in all of this. Yeah.
So
and that's city councils, that's school boards, that's every level.
Everything. It's school boards, it's the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors who manage the elections, the Secretary of State, the county clerk. Oh, I
Ice cream man.
All those sons of bitches, every single one of them. Because I watched it happen here. I was a part of that process from 2021 on during the audit. I watched what these people did. And more importantly, I watched Karen Fan, another Bain Capital disciple / McCainite, destroy everybody that was a part of that, including Cyber Ninjas.
So can we
all of those people back all the way back need to be held accountable for this?
We don't have that many helicopters.
Can we look back at
we're going to need more helicopters.
Actually, we do have enough helicopters.
We can use C-17s in the ramp, right?
Oh, I'm all about that. I'm all about that.
C5s. Sorry, Colonel.
What? If they fly, if they're flying.
Can we look back on how this was handled in foreign countries after World War II?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
What happened? What happened when, and I'm going to use this not in the way people think I'm using it, but in the aftermath of World War II, when you had the excavation of foreign forces in countries that, say, the Japanese had colonized 35 years before, like Korea, after the war, there were military governors set up in order to, although they were fuckeries, to push the foreign forces out of the country to stabilize the country in order to hold valid elections in those countries. There is a process in the United States under continuity of government for that exact same thing to happen. So if you get to the point where the entire election system is questioned and there is a mandated paper ballot, American citizens only vote that has to, because you've nullified, as you guys have articulated, all of the elected officials in all of America. That you basically have to have, which we already have, the ability to have military governmentship in a transition period to a valid election system. And if you look at the timing of everything that has happened, the fact that everybody, and say what you want about real IDs, the fact that the battlefield has already been prepped supposedly to issue real IDs to people who have proven they have an American birth certificate, they have all of the valid documentation, blah, 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 to actually vote in an election. And many of the other things that has happened over the last 10 years since Trump first came into office, it makes sense to include having to have a new census. There has been all of this prep work done that would lead a logical person to conclude that may be the end state. I'm not saying it is, but it may be. And there are
Plausible.
prototypes where this has been done in the past.
Proofs of concept.
The entire government has been incapacitated via war or whatever else.
Yeah, completely agreed. Completely agreed. And it's not just a logical person. It's an intelligent pot smoker or whiskey drinker. They'll get there too.
Some of them are actually intelligent. That's why they drink. They can't handle this.
They can't handle. You can't handle the truth. Yes, I can. I got scotched.
It takes the mushroom heads an extra month. They have to come back from Venus.
Well, they got to fight all the layers of demons, Dante's hell, right? Right. It's like, just come back to whiskey, boys. Come on.
Yeah.
It's
honest. It's grain. It's good for you.
Roxanne, to what you're saying, you're absolutely right. How many times has the U.S. military in foreign countries been responsible for the integrity of the vote? Of course, how many times is the CIA there inside our own wire fucking it all up and, et cetera? But
they usually go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. Yeah.
Hello, Kyrgyzstan.
Fuckery out of it.
Yeah. So the Department of, we soldiers, unfortunately, have a virus pathogen that, goes everywhere with us. It's called the CIA. We carry it with us.
Does ivermectin help that?
No.
If you waterboard them with it.
Yeah. You have to feed them the pour over instead of the injectable for it to work.
Yeah, the pour over. Yeah.
That's right. What are you complaining about, prisoner? You're getting antibiotics.
That's right. You're getting it the right way.
You're getting medicine.
Oh, it's too early. Yeah. So Roxanne, I'm with you. You're absolutely right. All of the mechanisms are there. They're all legal. Right. They're all legitimate. They're all legal. The U.S. military does have experience in this in other countries. And the way we are as a federated republic, we are 50 plus countries and, territorial countries, et cetera. So it wouldn't be too terribly hard to do. So I don't know. With Graham, who's the one who benefits, cui bono, right? Who benefits? Who benefits most from the system as it is? Well, it's the Praetorians, and it's their devil's legions. And, you might off Graham as a message to others that, you participate in this, you back this and support this, we'll off you. And we can get to you. We can get to a super high profile guy no matter what, which is what a part of what Kirk was about. Mostly what Kirk was about is demoralizing young men.
Yeah.
Right, to drive them to Andrew Tate and young Christian men, but not just young Christian men, but young men, right? Rational, logical young men looking for a path. Now all they got left is, the Groyper fucktards or the Andrew Tate fucktards, right? That word Groyper is like the word moist. It just sounds.
It's such a branding. It's moist and then grope and then also the idea of like a fish. It is the worst
Soy Boy Laboratory.
They did it on
Soy
purpose.
Boy Labs.
It is you talk about that disgust. It is the worst. Yeah. It's like it's clown posse or something. Like, dude, what is that branding Groyper?
So there's no way.
It sounds like a triple felony.
No,
he did was a Groyper. That's prison.
For a second on this one, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's part of the subculture, the online subculture of both Reddit as well as from 4chan and 8chan, where if you get it, and you're a part of the club. And they obfuscate and they label things just so they have their own neology and their own idioms that nobody else understands because they're the cool kids with all their shrapnel and their bullshit.
I don't want to be a part of that club. That club is moist.
There's a club.
That's why they name things the way they do. It's a part of that crew that, and I hate to say this because
estrogenics.
No, yes, it's that too, but it's an outgrowth from some of the cyber stuff, the cyber conferences, because there was a bunch of them. DEF CON was one of them, and a few others where they're wearing their little circuit board and their fucking label that says goon and all their bullshit,
Oh, that
running
stuff's
around
cool though.
with their own little language. That's where all that stuff spawned out of, and it's grown and metastasizing to a cancer.
Yeah,
That's
but this one was done. They chose that word specifically to trigger disgust. Yes. So Roxanne and everybody, in the last conversation, we had the conversation about were the elites truly all in or not? And my concern about the states, right, and the states levels, elites being all in, et cetera. If they're all in, then this very pathway that we're talking about and all the little steps do lead up to a constitutional constitutional amendments through the states. And that all gets triggered by the demonstration that the electoral system is corrupted at every level everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so how within the constraints, without, trying to go to martial law and all this other, extremes that, civil war launching stuff that they're talking about, how would the elites bring this about? They would set all this up so that there was a states convention or convention of states, again, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know why I can't stick that phrase in my mind, but it won't stick.
Article 5.
Article 5. Yeah.
There you go.
We got to be careful because Article 5 in NATO is what? Right?
Well, I understand that. But we don't have to be careful because that's the constitutional term for that.
Okay, so the U.S. and not NATO, Article 5.
Yes.
It is the mechanisms they would have to use to reset this, because you're not going to vote your way out of, when the virus is in control, you don't vote your way out through the virus. You kill the virus. Right? You bring in something to augment the immune system that fights the virus. So the only way legitimately to remain constitutionally sound is to bring in Article 5. How do you bring that about? How do you make that happen? One is the intel dump, the information dumps. It's Tulsi Gabbard's work. Foreign influence, all that kind of, it's stuff that Bessent's doing now that he's got, since he's had FinCEN data. It's also be very interesting to see with the new Fed, with the Fed and the new players in the Fed, because Fed has other information like FinCEN.
We're getting feedback from somebody. Blaine.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're getting audio from you.
It's okay. Blaine, just warn us next time when we all have to cut the commercial break.
Wow.
We're cool, man. We know you're gonna make your money.
yeah, that's me. Here I am sitting on my yacht.
Hey, I'm just glad he's not throwing me into the bus today, because
I can't see the bow from here.
He's getting tossed under the bus, just so you know.
So I think, I suspect, and I don't know, but for something like this to happen, what state level leadership is the most important in an Article 5? It's the senators. The senators are by far the most powerful in that constitutional process, right? Because they are direct representatives of the state, whereas congressionals are the direct representatives of the people of the state. So constitutionally, the senators would have much more influence and power here. And Graham is dead. And there's, that is a message to other senators. You got to remember, there's only 50 of them, right? Or 100 and something. 100. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah.
So the question is, what happens to the NDAA?
What do you mean?
Oh, it won't go in its present format. No way. There is no way that the president's going to sign off on 219 and 622.
Oh, you're talking about the Israeli thing?
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
It may be, but I'm not. It's not over till it's over, and it's not out till it's out. And I'm not even listening to the rhetoric. I'm just looking to see what happens, because everybody that votes on that is a traitor.
But you just answered the Steve. You just answered the question. While they're actually just showing exactly who they are, and they're building evidence trails all around them. So when it gets right back to what EM's talking about with the paths to incapacitation, It all comes together. And President Trump is not naive about all the foreign actors, even those who claim that they're great, strong allies of the United States.
So how do you demonstrate foreign influence at that level? You let them get something in there, and then you capture all the evidentiary trail of the foreign influence on trying to pass something that has fuck all do.
That is when I see it, EM.
Yeah, well,
I don't
agree with that, Steve. I agree with that, but it's how I would do it, right? I'd like, okay, you go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to watch and capture everything that's being done because that is so obviously foreign influence.
And who's directly talking to, and who you're taking money from, and where it's
correct. Yeah, correct. And that is demonstrably against the treason against the United States. You were trying to embed us as some other part of some other government. That's a great way to go after the ones who may have legitimately earned their seat. And I say legitimate very, very loosely, right? Very loosely. So, we have to wait and see, but quite literally, we are at the place where there are only two things that could save the republic and save the Constitution. One is civil war, which nobody wants, particularly not the oligarchs, because their assets and their money and their income and their revenue streams are what actually gets destroyed. If not, they themselves get taken out in this tit for tat stuff, or it's an Article 5 states convention, right? And constitutional amendments through Article 5. It's the only two things.
Yep. I agree.
Because we ain't going to vote harder our way out of it.
Because, Steve, to your point, look how many people get rounded up in that. It's not just like on the congressional side, Adams and Rogers, and on the Senate side, it's not just Cotton. All of those committee members who voted that stuff out of committee and the staffers, they're all in a web. They're all in a net now.
And the lobby firms and the lawyer, the legal firms and
everybody
the bankers
that shit, to put that in legislation. And the kicker, though, for me, is the fact that there was no debate in committee. No one stood up and said this is absolutely.
So now you got a problem with Johnson and Thune. In other words, you're creating a massive evidence trail, and the guy collecting all the evidence is a guy named Scott Bessent.
Well, and the Fed, because Fed moves monies in other ways as well.
Oh, they're working hand in glove.
Hand
in glove. So what did Moore say? Regime change.
Steve, I have a question for you because you're closer to these kinds of people, but have we been stockpiling enough feathers and enough tar?
I don't know. I stepped away from that crowd of like-minded people about and I
don't want feathers, and I want millstone and rope.
Absolutely.
Oh, as a Wallace, I'm rather partial to hang, drawn, and cornered. But
this is all an entertainment program.
It has to be hemp. And is this a good time to talk
American about hemp? It's got to be American grown hemp. Is this a good
time to talk about the benefits of hemp? Because Xerient.com is working all kinds of technologies around hemp. I just thought
that's what it is? Really?
Oh yeah.
Do you know the original Model Ts used hemp in the paneling?
Yeah, DuPont took care of that problem.
If you have any idea about the amount of and use of hemp a long time ago. So
all the World War II parachutes.
So in 1979, when I arrived at Chanute Air Force Base in the middle of Illinois, it was all the airmen knew this because it was a training center, that the railroads that ran through Illinois, there was massive amounts of hemp plants all along the railroad tracks, because when they hauled it, because they used it for everything. When they hauled it down the railroad tracks, the seeds would come off, and there was, again, not kidding, like 6 feet tall, in the middle of summer, hemp plants all along the railroad tracks, and every airman at that base knew exactly where they were.
It's coming back. We're gonna scale hemp. I have got so many sister companies: hemp to fuel, hemp to concrete, hemp to textiles,
insulation.
Hemp's coming back. And when you take hemp and you put it up against some of the nanotechnologies that are available, and you bring in hemp with graphene, it's magic. It's absolutely magic.
Okay, but we can't really use that for tarring and feathering.
That was the primary point.
No, it's a neck device. It's
The
like
ropes,
for a
the ropes,
necktie.
yeah.
It's a necktie. It's
The
a
rope.
necktie. It's a necktie.
As long as
yeah.
you guys don't name specific people, I suppose you can say all this.
Oh, I'm prostitute agnostic.
The problem with the show the other day was Dave mentioned a very public person in a place where a firearm should be placed, and that's why it was taken down.
A blaster.
A what?
A blaster.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, there's different names. You got to get into the synonyms.
No, it was pretty blatant bolt to the forehead of a blank. So that's what that's entertainment program. So as long as you guys aren't naming people, yeah, we can tar and feather. I think. I don't know.
So I you know, Blaine, again though, you got me thinking about the prostitutes and otherwise known as
that's the fucking teaser.
You know, otherwise known
he dreams
as
of Wan
politicians.
Chai.
Otherwise, no, I lived in China. I'm good.
Yeah.
Give me a second. That is the only other non-Civil War path is an Article 5 activation.
I agree.
And the most important players in that are the senators.
Yep.
Right?
The new senators.
The new senators, but even the existing senators, because that's state level power. So one of the things I would have to look at, and certainly I'm going to jump up and get my power cord here, is I would start looking at state level power players. Because if something like this is coming, you're going to see the echo, you're going to see the little signatures of it first at the state level. So give me a second. Go ahead, guys. I got to get it work.
So everybody left us.
Yes.
I think it's funny, but we'll see how it plays out. I'm cautiously optimistic that the election step is going to lead somewhere. And I think that
it's planned to. It's planned to.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've actually paid attention to over the last several years, because the piece that most people don't, and this goes back to something that I think EM said earlier in the show, that the public is, they see all the slop, they stop paying attention, and then they forget it. Maybe that was you, Roxana. Either way, if you look at the way the election system was manipulated, and it was actually John Herod who actually did a very good deep dive on this, and he started with the election official in Washington State back in 20 years ago when Christine Gregoire became the governor of Washington State. It was a contested election, and ever since then they've institutionalized the cheating and the manipulation of the vote since then. And there's never been another Republican in Washington State. And the same thing in Oregon, California. And the same election official moved from Seattle down to Los Angeles, and the exact same thing happened in Los Angeles. They brought the same tactics to Nevada, to Arizona, to Georgia, to Michigan, and to Wisconsin, and did the exact same thing prior to the 2020 election, only they had the ballot moving, they had the mail-in ballots, et cetera. And they have gone to extreme lengths, especially here in Arizona. Like Adrian Fontes, he has spent the last 4 years institutionalizing cheating. And I don't know how they pulled it off in 2024 to bring Trump back to office, but no one voted for Mark Kelly. I mean, his polling numbers were well below 20%. And all of a sudden, he's in office. Katie Hobbs is in office. She's one of the most despised governors in Arizona history. But you watched the changes they made. One of the key changes they made to allow them to cheat with mail-in ballots is they established polling centers. Again, something else that happened under Karen Fann that she allowed, and she's a McCain-Romneyite, and they allowed the polling stations instead of precincts to be set up so you could vote anywhere. And
they had
on election day
in Chicago, they had video Black Panthers at the polling stations intimidating people.
Oh yeah, that's just one tactic. I'm talking about the mail-in ballot cheating. They propagated through all of the blue states, and the way they do it is they send carloads to different polling stations. They take bags of ballots, drop them off, And ballot harvesting is illegal in almost every state except for Washington.
So,
California.
what do you think the odds are that between now and the president releasing this stuff about Georgia at 9:30 Eastern PM on Thursday that we're going to see a big aw shit in the country to try to stretch the news cycle in a different direction?
I think there's a high probability that we'll see some interesting things happen after that. But my question is, what is going to be done about the press? What's going to be done about the open?
Oh, they've already started. The mainstream press now has got all their little legions out there going, and this hapless adventure that President Trump still seems to be on, contesting the 2020 election as if this was even in doubt. He's going to make some. They're already do. But if that's all they've got, they're in real trouble because Tulsi Gabbard is a very serious player. But what that also tells me is that, so what does the enemy have planned between now and Thursday night?
Assassinations, intimidation. They use Lindsey Graham's death, and now they intimidate others and say that can happen to you too.
That's right.
Look at the age of a lot of our senior, the senior folks, both at the states level and at the federal level.
They're already fossils.
Yeah,
They're already petrified.
I have some optimism for the media versus Trump on Thursday. For years it was accepted as truth. It's like, well, he's a Russian asset and Mueller's going to get him. And now we look back at that and everyone goes, yeah, that was kind of horseshit.
But something has to be done about the media.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
They've already been invalidated, right? It's the fake news is very much, that phrase. They went after the media first.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing you do in a coup.
That's exactly
counter or
what
not.
you do.
Take the fucking microphone.
So we went after the media first. The media has been invalidated. So what they're countering with is the Tucker Carlsons and the others, the alternate media, and shifting, the locus of media power to them, right? And how did they seed that? Well, they kicked people out of the main media and drove them into alternate media. And now you still got your same guy who used to be on Fox or used to be on MSNBC or whatever. Now he's got a YouTube channel. He's an alternate because he got fired. He got kicked out, or she. So that's where they're trying to transition now, is to the alternate media. Well, and not try to. They've been doing it, and they're pretty heavily into it, right?
Transition, but the mainstream media still has a lot of reach.
It has a lot of reach, but it doesn't have the validity or the power. Everybody shits on the boomers, right? But I will say this, for the most part, the boomers were very loyal Americans. For the most part. You got some small subset in there, but you get that in every generation. But, the boomers are the children of the greatest and the silent generations. Very, 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 very American.
Well, and they're victims of their own kind. So the great theft that the boomers have undergone, and they're about to undergo even more as we start to see retirement accounts get zapped, their own kind went after them. They're victims of their own.
And they're looking at the largest wealth transfer to their families ever in human history, and it's being, stymied and stunted, and they're trying. Every force is there to try and steal the boomers' wealth. That's why all this is coming to a head right now. We couldn't do it in any other time because there wouldn't be this. What are you going to do to protect me so I can give my children and grandchildren something, and not have the state steal it all?
I've never had an issue with boomers, and it's not my original thought. I heard it from a comedian, Ray Kump, but he goes, you would have done nothing different. Yeah. Because think about it, we know in hindsight, but go back to the 60s and 70s. There's no internet. You don't know anything. Economy's booming. There's acid. Yeah, you're going to go fucking party, and then the economy booms as you hit your 30s, and you go, yeah, go buy this house for $9, and it'll be worth $30 million in 2020. The Ray Kump goes, the only reason you're mad is because you didn't get to take the candy. We all would have done it. We all would have done it.
There's so much more to that.
I know that's a very broad.
I know. To Ian's point, those, like my parents that grew up during that generation, would have never, ever in their wildest imagination thought the government was their enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ever.
True.
Yes.
They trusted their government. Yes. They did not have the internet to go research how evil their government was.
Yes.
They had no ability to do that.
Yes.
Or that there was a big food, or that there was a big food, a big pharma, a big defense, a big
call-
everything.
Never guessed that.
That's why I can't. Sorry, let me interrupt. That's why I can't hate on them, is because they
No.
wouldn't have guessed. And when they went to their parents just came back from World War II. They're like, "Yeah, America's great."
So let me just also finish with this.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Those same people in their late 20s and early 30s that criticize the boomer generation ad nauseum. And I say this to every one of them, and I've had conversations because that's the age of my two youngest daughters, is what did you do during 2021 to 2025 when the border was open and your country was being invaded? What did you do? You did nothing. You did absolutely nothing. And you cannot criticize someone. You had the information. You knew that the United States was being invaded. You did nothing. You literally just bitched about boomers. And if you're not going to get up off your ass and do something when your own country is being invaded, then you cannot criticize an old person who had no information and trusted their government as a result.
So
If you didn't hop on a microphone to the point where the FBI met you twice and you had to spend your life savings, you did nothing, which is what I did. So they can fuck off. Not the FBI, my cohorts and my generation.
the FBI too.
That's it. They were nicer than the people. Honestly, the FBI agents, they were cooler than millennials. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's how much.
Roxanne, very much to your point, and this is something that's really rather important, and it does get to the timing of all of this. There is a unbelievable concerted effort, very well done. It's very well laid out, marketing, PR, psyop, to get us to believe that the boomers don't want to pass on their wealth. You see it if you pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
It's very cleverly
Oh, it's
done.
obvious. It is obvious.
But that is a psychological operation to keep us at war with the boomers as their wealth is being structurally stolen.
Correct.
Yep.
Don't think
Red
for a
ants, black
second
ants.
that the vast majority, and when I say vast majority, I mean 98, 99% of boomers don't want to pass on their wealth to their kids and grandkids because they see the disparity. It's not like they're running around. And I know because my boomer parents, they live just down the street from me, right? The boomers are seeing this stuff. They're dealing with their financial advisors and everything else as they're preparing for life, for transition out of life, et cetera. And they're dealing with all of this shit that is making it harder and harder and harder for them to give anything to their kids and grandkids. Right. That's all being done on purpose. This war is being created on purpose. Don't think for a second that the boomers, the vast majority of the boomers of whatever political stripe, don't care first and foremost about passing forward everything they've worked so hard, and they did work hard, to pass on to their kids and grandkids.
Well, one of the most damning pieces of evidence is the fine work. I mean, and you met him in Las Vegas, EM. Mitch Vexler is doing work to expose all of the theft that's going on with the fraud in district reappraisals of houses to pump them up so that the boomers in retirement can no longer afford their property taxes and have to give up what they worked so hard for. And the foreclosure rates are now soaring into the stratosphere as people try to hang on to these houses. And then the state just comes in and auctions them off. And guess what? The theft is so complete that most states don't have laws where you can retain even $1 of the equity you put into that over your entire life. And that's correct. And that is the front lines of the war on the boomers.
That is exactly right. The entirety of, you're absolutely right, Blaine. I've been saying this for years. The reason all of this is coming to a head right now is because the target is the largest accumulation of private wealth that has ever happened in human history, is changing demographically, right? It's changing from the boomer generation, with few silents are remaining, and some older Xers, to the millennials, Gen Z, Xers, et cetera, right? The younger Xers. That is the target. It is tens of trillions of dollars. And it isn't just here. It's in, anywhere that World War II touched. So it's in the United Kingdom, it's in Europe, it's in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, etc. That is the target. Tens of trillions of dollars of real wealth, right? Real accumulated wealth, not fuckery, derivatives based wealth. And so what do they have to do? They have to keep us in a generational war.
To your point about it being a psychological operation, it is the division by age as opposed to race. It's the exact same
Correct. Correct. But this one's even more damage, more destructive because it turns family against family.
Correct.
Right. And so you feed the despair, you feed the despondency in the younger generations. You articulate to them all the time how they're being abused, how much disparity there is. You build all of that first, right? And then you resentment. Exactly. It's the resentfuls, the book, right? You build that resentment, that envy, and then you point it at somebody, right? Yep. And at what they're pointing at is the boomers. Why? Well, because they want the boomers' wealth, and they're already stealing it. Blame the properties one way, but it's tax stuff in different states and other things as well.
Oh, right? Yeah. Multiple levels.
We're
talking trillions of dollars.
In the United States alone, it's somewhere like around $30 trillion in actual no shit bottom line wealth. 30 trillion.
What do you mean bottom line?
Real wealth, property value, asset values, actual, meaning real wealth is wealth that labor has paid into, right? So it is the accumulation.
Not fine art. It's a fucking copper mine.
Correct. It's not this bullshit made up, financialization, et cetera. It's labor converted to assets, right? That's real wealth.
So what do you think is going to happen between now and Thursday?
Well, I don't know, but what I'm getting at is that in this, right, one, people need to understand this, but what I'm getting at is that if there were to be an Article 5 activation, there wouldn't be any better time to do it than now because of this boomers looking at the future and what they're handing forward and how do they help address some of the disparities that they didn't create, but they're, historically, cycles, financial and business and economic cycles, generational cycles do this. Some generation builds it up just because of all the dynamics, but then they're looking forward to handing it forward. And then somewhere in their offspring's lives, later than it was for them, they hand it forward and they it balances out, right, over time, right? You get a balancing. The boomers are looking at that not happening. They're looking at all their wealth and assets and accumulation, et cetera, just getting stolen and not going to their kids and their grandkids, et cetera, and not carrying on. So were there to be an Article 5 now would be the exact right time because of that. And the majority of the boomers are still young enough and still active enough politically, still active enough in the American system, still believe enough in the old world, because exactly what Roxanne said, because they grew up in it. They didn't know all the lies and deceptions, et cetera. I'm not sure we should tell them all now, by the way, just right.
A lot of them don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it. My parents, I've stopped accidentally causing fights at the holiday.
I'm pleasantly surprised at how much my aunts and uncles and parents are fully into it.
Well,
it's impressive.
That's the other thing. COVID and all the stuff that happened since then has really woken a lot of people up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's the perfect timing for an Article 5. It is a perfect timing for a reset because the boomers know, even if it's just subconscious, they know their wealth is the target. They know that it's a harder and harder chance for them to pass forward their wealth to their descendants who really need it, right? And they're active enough and politically active enough and astute enough and they think enough and they have enough. More importantly, the boomers are the ones that have all the social networks, the real social networks, not the fake Facebook and all that. They have all the social, professional, former professional, retiree networks in their communities all over this country at every level. That they spent 60 years, 50 years, 60 years building.
It's funny that you say that because that's how I actually got started. Right after COVID, because obviously Central Florida has a lot of retirement communities.
Oh, yeah.
I met someone who followed me on True Social, and they invited me to basically, we called it the Patriots meeting. at one of their community centers. And a lot of those people, it was the very first retirement community in Florida that got lined up in golf carts to take the COVID shot. And several of them started getting ill right away. And none of them understood. And at that point, some of the information was coming out about what the spike protein did. So I went home and I did a whole bunch of research and was watching a lot of the early doctors, to Tommy's credit of having them on podcasts and stuff like that. And I went back to them, gave them the regiment that they were. I kept a supply here. I would have a phone call from one of them. And so I started presenting to them all of the research that I had done. Those people will go anywhere and listen. They listen to my podcasts all the time. And so they're those people, those, and I've done it at several other community centers around here. Those people are open. There's a group over in Lake Wells that invited me over there. It was about 50% military retirees. That's obviously my hardest audience because so much of my research has focused on the CIA's infiltration of our military, and it's not necessarily welcome. But I had a guy come up to me after that particular presentation and basically gave me a hug and said that he had suspected this for a very long time and didn't know any of the details of it. And he had been special forces. And he was one of those people that was very open to that. And during the little walk around where everybody was talking, he said, "This woman knows what she's talking about." And so it's very encouraging to me, to EM's point, that there are people in that generation that knows things are off. They just have no place to look because they're not computer savvy.
And they don't have they don't have that baseline of, I say this all the time. I was not at either prom. I was reading Legacy of Ashes by Tim Weiner. Like I early on in Wikipedia, I was reading about like depopulation and breakaway civilizations. Like I have 20 years of this shit under my belt. My parents, it's just like it comes in very fast. It's like, wait, the FDA is lying. Wait, they killed JFK. Wait, what were we doing in Iraq? It comes in very fast, and you have to give the ones credit that go. They don't just go, They take a bite off and work on it, and I'll never convince them about like UFOs, but that's fine. I'll do. But they agree now. My parents are straight up just like, 9/11 doesn't make any sense, and I'm like, that is so surreal. Growing up in like a Roman Catholic household, like to like
There's
watching
UFOs?
Fox News. What?
There's UFOs?
Don't
Yes,
start
but
with,
they're housed at the Vatican.
don't start with me, Lane.
So one thing I want to touch on, it's related to all of this, and it is about timing, right? Everything's about time. Demographics drives everything, first off, period, right? Okay. I did belong to the Society for Design and Process Science. It's a bunch of engineers, Nobel Prize winners, scientists, et cetera, et cetera. I started to notice about 15, 20 years ago when the older generations, the silent mostly, and then started to be the boomers, were retiring, that they would go to conferences, they were having different conversations than just months ago when they were still a professor here or the chief scientist here, et cetera. And one of the things I noticed was that, wow, it's very interesting. When people retire, they start to have, their bounds of the professional competition and the siloing of information that they maintained in their when they were still professionally functioning. Those start to dissolve and come off, and now they have conversations that they never would have had before,
Right.
across domains, across entities, right. So, what's happening with the boomers retiring, Tommy, to your point, right? As the boomers are retiring. And now they have more time, but also more importantly, they're not having to remain loyal to some structure, some system, some organization, some professional competitiveness. What's happening is they're having conversations they never allowed themselves to have before. And what that does is and this is the most knowledgeable, most educated, most successful cohort, demographic cohort we've ever had. We have to remember it was their generations who created all the computers and the internet and all this other stuff, right? And so what we're finding is we are finding an accelerate, and it's interesting that all this release of information is timing now too. Don't think they don't have
Correct.
some part involved in that as well,
Okay.
right? As former CIA guys retire, and as former FBI guys retire, as former special operations guys retire, and you know what I mean? So it's a very interesting thing. The boomers, one, are the most successful, most experienced, most connected generation we've ever had. They're also retiring in a healthier state, healthier mental state, healthier cognitive state. They've still got 10 to 15 years of no shit real life ahead of them, maybe 20 years of life ahead of them. And now they're having conversations with one another they couldn't have before they retired. And they're looking at, oh, wow, there's all this shit going on. I've still got time. I got time on my hands now. I only need so much for the bees in the garden, like my parents, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
right. And so it's a very, these are the types of things that the enemy can't adapt to. These are the types of things that the enemy can't plan for and predict for. They can try things like this generational war, and they can try things like, going after certain people and impoverishing certain people, all this kind of stuff. But we're looking at what is the boomers, 60 million, 80 million?
It's a lot.
It's a pretty big number,
I was
right?
up at July 4th with all my boomer family, and I was sitting there, and they know I do the podcast, and I was explaining like, oh, I have this guy on like Dr. McCullough, and they're like, oh no, we watch all those, like they're all nurses. I'm like, yeah, Dr. Malone and like Ken Alabek, the Soviet Union guy, and they're all talking about this stuff and talking about the DARPA Adept program and all this shit. And I'm looking at them in my mind, I'm like, if I had brought this up 10 years ago, they would have quietly
They were all
told
still working. They were all still professionally engaged.
even if they weren't, they would have
Yeah.
quietly told my parents that, maybe Tommy needs to go be seeing a professional. like
Straight
now,
jacket.
yeah, but now they listen. I'm saying things and they're like, no, I watched that one. And you're right, it's they're giving them, it's not just that they're accepting these, they're giving themselves the permission to talk about this,
Yes.
which is a huge thing when you start telling yourself, maybe I should question that. Maybe I don't. Maybe this is okay. That's a huge thing. I don't know how you counter that. I mean, the resentfuls will counter it, but I mean, this is a wildly emergent, crazy, as you always say. I'm like, this is don't just look at it as humans. Look at it as the biosphere of
Correct.
what septillions of cells on this planet. Like this is a Rubik's cube mesh net
It's
that they're
error
trying to
corrected.
hammer down with
Yes.
like, I don't know, SWAT trucks and flock cameras. Like they're going to give it a college try.
And good on them.
Yeah, good on them. You're
Go for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
But go
hemp's
get a
gonna
shovel.
get you in the end.
Go get a shovel and just start shoveling out Atlantic Ocean. You'll get there. Like, so that's kind of my optimism. Is I really do. We just said in the last or 2 episodes ago, or whatever the fuck one I just did, is talking about the growing population, and I see that as like a benefit. There's just that many more nodes. A lot of them are retarded, irreversibly retarded, stunningly retarded. But like,
We got to be careful there. That's the more nodes, on a computer science basis, right? On a data basis, more nodes is not better because it gets harder to compute. You flood in a whole bunch of corrupted nodes so that everything is based off of networks, right? Human networks, connections, relationships, etc. If you flood enough in there that break those networks from connecting, you've disrupted the whole system. So it's not more.
My logic was made when I went about it, and by logic I mean I put 4 seconds of thought into this thesis. Is the unique brains, the unique minds that pop out and see these things, percentage wise, or even the percentage stays the same, but the population grows. You're gonna have more people that, if it takes 1 to 3%, you're gonna have a higher number of 1 to 3% of weaponized autism. Like how many stolies are out there that we don't know about? It's just like, that's my optimism.
That's a spooky thought.
That's a horrifying thought. That's a horrifying thought. Stoli was on the first show, but like,
so if I might, Tommy,
yeah, I don't care.
No. It's to your point though, right? We don't need to flood more people in here and grow the population, etc. There is a thing that they didn't count on because they probably did, but they've been trying to counter it. It's the two things. When you have the most professional, successful generation ever who's retiring, they've reached way beyond the peak of their professional careers. They're not building anymore. They're in sustainment. Now they start having conversations. Then when they retire, people who used to be competitors just a month ago before they retired can now have conversations they couldn't have a month ago because they were in some competitive
my dad in the
environment.
poultry industry, he'll talk to people, be like, "Yeah, I just got off the guy from Sub. Like they're both retired." He's like, "For 30 years, I was trying to sell him chicken." He's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll see you later, asshole." Like, yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that what they cannot address, and this is why they're trying to do the generational. The boomers don't want to pass on the wealth. The boomers, the most, greedy, corrupt, generation that's ever been, et cetera, which has not been my experience, by the way, right? What they can't address, though, is that there is a fuck ton of us Gen Xers and a growing number of the millennials who are trying to be the next boomers. So they were kind of in that mindset for a while, and a whole lot of Gen Z that aren't benefiting. They know in their own lives they're not benefiting from any of this stuff. So what's happening is you've got 3 generations are trying to do a gen war about, and then those 3 generations talk, and they realize, oh, we're all seeing the same thing. Oh, and hey, Grandpa, I got this piece of information here. You might want to go look at that. Or hey, Grandma, this is over here, and we might want to. Or Grandpa or Grandma goes, hey, you know what? I was in this company, or I was a CIA case officer, or whatever. You might want to go look at this. And now you've got 3, 4 generations that are all looking at the same thing, going, whoa, wait a second, we're not the enemy. They're the enemy. Right? So if they had done a better job of getting Gen X, millennials, and the older Gen Zs in franchise in the system, they'd have a much better chance of pulling this all off. But you got one generation that's retiring out looking, I want to pass my shit forward. And you got the other 2 generations that are sitting there going, we need to wait till this gets passed forward so we can go do our stuff in our life. And all 3 of those are starting to talk now.
And then
4 of them.
And then the first show I did this morning is where you have guys like Dale, Ground Branch Delta Force, and his buddy Greg, who I've met through him. He's a bit older than Dale, who's ISA. You have them looking at this stuff and going, "This is fucked," and then you go, "Oh, those are the guys that oh, that's a." And I mean, and we'll just not go down that line of thinking anymore for purpose of my show not getting canceled. But like
for entertainment purposes,
they gotta look at that. And I'm like, they're looking at like heavily looking at this. I Stoley was on with Greg, the old ISA guy, and they were going back and forth. And I'm like, that's dangerous to the powers that be.
When the Praetorians realize they have lost a portion of the Devil's Legions, who are really capable Devil's Legions guys, when they realize they've lost enough of those, they realize this is dangerous for us. Because guess what? You know that saying about know where the bodies are buried? We mean it quite literally.
Yeah. No, I know. It's not
hyperbole.
It's
to the tar and the feathering.
Yeah, it's
the stockpiles of the stars and feathers. Yeah.
Could you do tarring and feathering in airborne? Could you do that in a C-17? Could you?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you could. Oh, yeah, and then you could pinochet them.
Yeah, we could scale that up.
We could actually tar and feather them so they can fly. Yeah. And then we can test it.
Yes.
EM and Blaine's tar, feather, and hemp outlet. Y'all come on down.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think that's a place we'll maybe bring this podcast to an end. I don't know how the fuck we got here. But yeah, it's
it should be it's all about the hemp, baby.
Yeah.
It's all about the hemp.
Maybe that's why they killed Lindsay. But, yeah, it's I don't know, we'll see Thursday. I'm very cautiously optimistic because I feel like 1,000 times for the last 6 years, Trump's been like, here's the election fraud data, and then, so I'm managing expectations, but
so I don't think it's any. Bondi's been out of her role for a while. I guarantee you, she's been communicating with power people, and Gabbard's been out of her. Is she out of her role yet?
Yes, she is.
Right, she's been communicating with people. Joe Kent's been out of his role. He's been communicating with people.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What do you mean?
Again, remember, because
they're working.
They're working. They had roles and titles, and they had access because of clearances and internal clearances. Because having a clearance ain't enough. You got to have internal clearances, right?
They know
and
stuff.
They know stuff. And then you work with Besant, Treasury, and it's not so much Besant because he doesn't want to touch and play in that stuff, but he understands. But it's the FinCEN people, and then you've got the equivalent of the FinCEN for the banks that's at Fed.
Yeah.
Don't
Well, look
think
at the
that
backgrounds.
Powell-
The Besant, Warsh, and Pulte
Yeah.
in the roles that they're currently in, and then you've got in satellite roles, Bondi and Gabbard and Ken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
and others.
Yeah, and if they're orchestrated and they're synchronized, there's a lot of wrecking ball damage they could do to the bad guys.
Whole lot of conversations at retirement homes or retirement communities.
Yep.
So I think we're in a better place, right? And no, I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not. I have no.
We don't have to wrap it up, by the way.
Well, no. I got to get going. But I have no valence with respect to Lindsay's death, but I do have some compassion for the family.
Absolutely.
Sorry that they lost one of their elders.
Absolutely.
We'll see how the world changes, et cetera. But for the Graham family, hey, I'm sorry you lost one of your elders.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody. Yeah, absolutely.
Father.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dance on that fucking. Yeah, I didn't like the guy. Whatever. I mean, but he's dead. It's decay. Disgrace.
We don't lionize the dead either, but
yeah, and also that's somebody's at one point that was somebody's toddler running around, and it's like show some love. We'll wrap this up because I'm really not sure how this thing started or where it went. But this is one of the more. This one was. A wheel came off very early, and this show just started tumbling down a hill in a great way. I don't know how it happened or where we got there, but I'm happy with the final form. So, in conclusion, go buy Blaine's hemp. That will solve all the world's problems. That's all I got. So,
see you guys.
Everybody listening, Blue Screen description, Substacks, Patreons, Twitters, all the stuff. Watch their stuff, read their stuff, subscribe to their stuff, give them money. That's the bottom line. Go do that. That's what it comes. Buy the book. Don't give them money. Just that's what it is. All right. So we'll wrap it up.
Wisdom.
Yeah, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
So who's the prostitutes now?
Y'all.
We have look in the mirror,
and I am no better. I am King Pimp.
Yeah.
All right.
All I know
just
is when
arguing
Roxanne
over the
wears
price.
the
That's
hat,
all
we're
it
all in
is.
trouble.
Roxanne puts the hat on. Yeah, she's working.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up, guys. Thank you.